This content is brought to you by Philosoflex, flexing the power of mind.
Is war ever justified? That's a question for philosophers. However, every person who has ever declared war had their reasons or at least their excuses. Whatever the world says, Vladimir Putin is convinced that his war in Ukraine is justified. Here are the 5 conspiracy theories. Russian media historian Ilya Yablokov listed in a New York Times op-ed the 5 conspiracy theories that the Kremlin has been using to rationalize the invasion of Ukraine. These are the justifications. 1. The West wants to carve up Russia's territory. The first of the 5 theories Yablokov lists is that the West wants to carve up Russia's territory. Everyone wants a piece of Russia. The article quotes Putin in his belief that everyone wants a piece of Russia. He evokes feelings in the Russian population from the Cold War, when the West was always an existential threat. 2. NATO has turned Ukraine into a military camp. According to Yablokov, the Kremlin is also promoting the claim that NATO has turned Ukraine into a military camp. Fear of the western border. The media historian says this has become a useful motivation to move Russian voters towards Putin. The enemy is on the Russian border, so to speak. 3. The opposition wants to destroy Russia from within, and is backed by the West. Another useful motivation? The Russian opposition, led by figures like Alexei Navalny, poses a threat from within. Navalny is currently in prison, backed by the West. The New York Times op-ed added to the 3rd conspiracy theory that the opposition, who wants to destroy Russia from within, is backed by the West. 4. The global LGBTQ movement is a plot against Russia. According to Yablokov, this is another example used by the Kremlin to frame a polarizing conflict between the West and Russia. Defending Russian values. Putin claims that with his war he only defends the traditional Christian values of the Russian people. It is one of the most divisive points the Kremlin is using against the West. 5. Ukraine is preparing bioweapons to use against Russia. The 5th and final theory goes beyond the rhetoric and poses a serious charge. Ukraine is preparing to use bioweapons against Russia. Even Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has shared this argument to fuel the ongoing conflict. What do the Russians think about this? These theories are constantly shared by the Russian media. But does it also mean that the Russian people support the war? It is difficult to say to what extent the Russians actually believe these theories. There are few opportunities to accurately gauge the mood of the population in the closed-off country. Some stick the letter Z on their windows, a signal that has become a pro-Putin symbol over the course of the war. Others protest the invasion. There are images of demonstrations in Moscow and other cities. However, many activists end up in prison for protesting illegally, according to the Kremlin. Can elections provide a clear picture of Russian public opinion? Unfortunately, that too is difficult. The Russian opposition parties hardly have the same opportunities to campaign during elections as the pro-government camp.